I think this interference campaign was real. I had a
Can you
little
explain
thread.
that? Get into the specifics of what you think is, because I think there's another thing that's very important to really get to the actual serious
Yes.
specifics of what is real being the operative word.
So absolutely. So I had a little thread a few months ago where I identified what I think are four distinct, rich areas of Russian involvement that we are learning more about all the time, faster than I can keep up with, and at the same time too slowly to really nail down. So the first broad category would be, and I think by far the most important, would be direct ties between the Russian government or agents of the Russian government and people in the Trump administration or campaign, or possibly Trump himself. And obviously this takes many dimensions, from potential building deals in Moscow or money laundered through Trump properties in New York, to the Manafort involvement, the Flynn involvement, whatever conversations Jared Kushner may have had with Visnitskaya, and plenty more. I mean, but I would sort of group that all together as one big thing: direct contacts. And obviously, if something can really be substantiated about foreknowledge of any of the other things I'm going to say, that's where you get into collusion. That's where you get into, conspiracy and things that might affect the Trump presidency. A second category would be this broad social media campaign. Here I've been annoyed at how some people I know and respect on the left react to it, where every time we get some news story, some scooplet from the Daily Beast that's like, here are some more Facebook ads we found, and people are always like, oh, that was only seen by, a few thousand people, or how is that important, or more money was spent, by this campaign on this.
Mm-hmm.
And then more stories keep coming out, and they come out on every platform, and then, Facebook goes from saying this is ridiculous to saying this happened a handful of times to saying it happened on a massive scale. I mean, my working assumption that has never been proved wrong since these stories first started coming out in late summer 2016, is that there is always more than you initially know. Mm-hmm. And I think a kind of lazy habit among skeptics has been to treat each story like it exists in a complete vacuum, like we don't know anything else, like there's not any kind of pattern being established here. And I don't think you have to be conspiratorial to understand that none of these stories exist in isolation. So the first was collusion or potential collusion. The second is the social media campaign. The third would be evidence that there was probing of voter databases in the scariest scenario, which I think people are very hesitant to allege, and so am I. This might involve actually affecting vote counts in some way in some states. I don't know that there's any hard evidence that ever happened, so I wouldn't want to intimate that there is, but it's obviously worth considering, and the probing is disturbing in and of itself.
Right.
And the fourth would be the fourth is actually the most clear cut, I think, even though people are constantly casting doubt on the connection. The hacks of the DNC and of Podesta laundered through WikiLeaks into the media to cause chaos on the Democratic side. And of course, nothing corresponding was done on the Republican side, even though it could have been, as well as subsequent evidence that's emerged that Julian Assange, clearly was openly trying to collude with the Trump campaign to stop the Clinton campaign. I think that's pretty clear cut.
Through chatting with Trump Jr. on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you add all these things together, and yeah, I mean, I can't, paint it. I would win a Pulitzer right now if I could, and I'm not an investigative reporter by any means. If I could explain precisely how this all fits together, and if I could prove that Donald Trump or his closest advisors directly plotted to steal information and tamper with voting rolls and stuff, but we will find out. And I have learned over the last year or so, just trust reputable, real reporters at real newspapers and organizations. Ignore the conspiracy theorists, and trust hopefully that the Mueller investigation will produce results in due course. But I think it is absurd and in its own way conspiratorial to pretend that these things don't point toward a large coordinated effort by the Russian government to influence the election.
Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos